the distance between Italy and Africa is just too close that we are meeting for the first time. So we should have known many things that we should know. And we should have known that we have had a lot of interaction before the Roman, during the Roman, and after the Roman. These evidence are everywhere. No, people, of course.
Everywhere. If you want to see them, though.
Yeah. So without the work of people like you who are taking the step to what you are basically doing is that you are taking the lens and giving it to people and say, hey, look at that object in front of you. It's really there, no? Because people pretend that it's not there, but it is there, no? And I think that is really very interesting. See? Now, before we move to the project, the more that which you are working on, I'm trying to understand the building of your identity personally, because now you were growing up with your parents, you were having this sort of little micro aggression, we might call it, but it is real because in school people talk to you, you know. Of course, these children might actually be ignorant because they don't know, and of course, maybe they are just exercising their curiosity and all that. Then, when you come home, what do you do with your parents? When you share the conversation with them, what did they tell you?
I guess my story is not as common as some of my fellow Afro-Italians. I didn't talk much about it, and in my family we didn't talk much about it actually whatsoever. So I started discovering my identity on my own in my teenage years, and I started being really interested about it. Yeah, basically around 16, 17, and started asking questions then. I think it was more in my family. I guess I was just more pushed towards demonstrating that my worth, despite everything. And so the race conversation was never a conversation.
Thank you very much for that. All right, now let's move to the story. How did it actually start? Because now you started to build your identity in your teenager, because of course, even though it wasn't discussed at home, but now at a certain stage, you know that this is something that you need to talk about. Then you started to work on it, work on yourself, and then work on the project. So how did this project started with you?
Yeah. Okay, so the project started, I guess the very first germ of it was me discovering an article online, told this story so many times now, that basically was titled 10 People You Didn't Know Were Black. And among them was Alessandro de Medici. So I was just so surprised because I had studied history. I studied the Medici. I did not remember a Medici being black. I would have remembered that. I would have definitely remembered. So I thought, no, that's impossible. And I started doing some research. And as you go deeper in the research, you realize that that was actually the case. And I mean, very, very easily, just browsing his paintings, there's a whole range of his paintings. Some of them are a bit more whitewashed, but in the more personal paintings, you see how you're finding yourself in front of a mixed race boy. And it's so apparent. It's ridiculous that it's not talked about. So it just basically that was me jumping into the hole and never ever coming out again. Because from then I just kind of went on doing more research, and then at a certain point, I realized that his story was so rich. I thought, wow, this would be incredible material for TV series. Um, that's what I started doing. And this was beginning of 2020 when I started writing material for a TV series. And that's how I spent a good part of the first quarantine. And then, then I was working on other things too. I left that there thinking this is such a strong story. Once the quarantine is over, I'm gonna, see what we can do with it. And then June 2020 happens and Black Lives Matter happens. And that was such a turning point for the acknowledgement and the awareness, my own awareness of my identity. Because as much as I had formed an identity throughout the years, especially since I left Italy quite young, so I lived in places where Black communities were strong. So I built my own identity. But I think that what I did was squish down everything that was related to my identity in my own country. And so when Black Lives Matter happened, I was living in London, and two of my best friends who aren't Black, one of them is Chinese and the other one is Greek. She's Caucasian Greek. They told me, well, we're going to the manifestation, to the what's the
To
word?
the protest. Yeah.
The
To the
protest.
protest.
I couldn't think of the word. We're going to the protest. And I said, and that time was such a strong time, I think, for everybody who has African ancestry. I felt it so strongly, and I felt my friends feel it so strongly, even though we weren't together because we were quarantining. There was so much grief going on. And you spend every day watching these images that are so violent and so unfair. And when my friends told me, we're going to the protest, do you want to come? My first instinct was self-preservation. And I was like, no, I'm not coming. What if something happens to me? And my parents are in Italy. They're going to kill me if I die. They're going to come back and kill me. And I didn't want to go because I literally was thinking about what my parents would say. I'm an only child, so you know how that is. And then I thought about it. I kept on thinking about it. I was like, I think I need to go. And so I went. And I can't even tell you what that moment meant. We arrived in Hyde Park, and there was just this mass of people, not just Black people, people from all ethnicities, there to speak up against something that was not fair, against something that had been so ingrained in the system, but that people were finally realizing we all had to stand up against. And in that very moment, it was like a lid came off, whatever I had tried to bottle down for all those years. And from that moment on, I just felt so strongly that I had kept silent for way too long and that I was not going to keep silent any longer. So that's how it all started. And I came back to Italy that summer. And I started thinking about what I wanted to do with, the material I had for the TV series. And I told myself, okay, obviously I can't produce a TV series because it's just me, I'm not a production company and, I'm not that big. But what I can do is do a short film. And I made the most of it because I was in Italy for a little while. And since I was here in the land where that story takes place, I said, okay, I want to tell this story firsthand. I want it to be me, behind the camera, writing it, because it's fair. It's fair for someone that comes from that background to tell this story. So I wrote a short film, and the rest is history.
Thank you very much, Daphne. This is very important, no? Even the Black Lives Matter protest in England that you were referring to, you could see that this was actually organized by young people, no? Which means that what happened in the United States sort of reverberated in many parts of the world, sort of waking up the people, but most importantly, the young people. And this is very important because the story, we are the one that make the story. Maybe, I don't know how far we can really take that very small statement, how far we can take it, because story is nothing more than just his version of the narration of the event. Because you are saying, this is how I see it. But this was sometimes, it's not universally true, but this is where you think it is. So you take it like that. And this is, but what I think is wrong in the point of narration is that we take one piece, we say this is the way it is for everybody. That would be difficult to justify. Say, for example, we take how the West have depicted African history for very many years, no? We think that is the history. But no, that is his history. That is his own side of the story, you know? I think the African would be wrong to think that, or actually they are wrong to, we are wrong to be criticizing the European that we are not represented enough in the story, because it is not our version of the story. If we want our version of the story to be told, we must be the one to tell this story. So I think anyway, that is big on its own. We need to go and break it down in pieces. And so that the question I'm going to ask you just now is that a lot about Africa, of course, it's not taught in Europe. If you go to a school in Europe, you know about Africa, yes, but again, their version of Africa, no? If that is all you know about Africa, sorry, you need to start to learn again.